Shalom. Today's Yomi is Bava Metzia Chaf-Hey, Bava Metzia 25. Today's the Daf Yomi for Purim, for Halach Purim. Today's Daf Yomi we dedicate for Shmira for Am Yisrael, Yeshua for Am Yisrael, Shmira for the Chayalim, Hatzalah for the Shvuyim, V'nahafochu. The world should be reversed and turned upside down. The Elu says we're going to start on the bottom of Chaf Daled on the base, on the bottom of 24b, where the Mishnah says, the Elu Chayav Hachris. Excuse me. These are the items that you're obligated to announce. Matzah Peros Bekli. Let's say you find an item, some fruits in a utensil, O Kli Kamoshahu, or you find any utensil empty, Maos Bekis, or let's say you find money in a utensil, O Kis Kamoshahu, or let's say you find a wallet just the way it is, or Tzibori Peros, or let's say you find a pile of money, or Tzibori Mos, or you find a pile of produce or a pile of money. Or let's say you find 3 coins, one on top of the other, or Krechos Pershus Hayachid, or let's say you find small bundles in private domain, and Kikar Shabalabayas, or let's say you find somebody's specific loaves of bread, V'gizei Tzemer, or shearings of wool, or halakucha mibesa uman, that are taken from the house of the craftsman, or kadei yayin, or kadei shemen, or jugs of wine or oil. All these items are items that you need to announce. So Gemara says, "Taima de matzah peros bekli umos bekis." That what's the reason why you need to announce them? The implication of the Mishnah is because you found fruits in the utensil and money in the wallet, hakli or front of peros. But let's say you found a utensil, and in front of this utensil are fruits, kis or front of most, or you found the wallet, and in front of the wallet is money. Harela shalo, then you'll be able to keep them. It's only in the utensil that you have to announce it. That's the implication of the Mishnah. Tanino ahad de tan rabbanan. In fact, we have a brisa that says it's matzah klio front of peros, kisel front of metals. If you find the utensil and the fruits in front of it, or the money in front of it, you could keep it. But miktasim meklio, miktasim agavre karka, miktasim mekis, miktasim agavre karka. But if some of the money or some of the fruit is in the utensil, then chayav hachris, and you do need to announce it. But for a minute, we have a contradictory source. A different process states, matzah davar shemo simin b'tzad davar sheyesh bo simin. Let's say you find something that has no sign next to something that has a sign, chayav hachris. Then you do have to announce it. Ba'al simin v'nato ashalo. Let's say the person who has the sign comes along and takes his item back. So, Ba'al simin v'nato ashalo. So let's say the person who has the item with the siman comes along and takes this. Then the other person who finds it, he acquires a thing that has no siman. And so this seems to imply that if there's part in and part out, you get to keep the stuff that's part out. Whereas the first source says that if there's part in and part out, you can't keep the stuff if you find that that's partially out. So Amar Rav Zvitz, and we're going to give several answers to this question. One is with a barrel and flax, and one is with a basket of fruit. The way Rashi explains it, that the barrel of the flax, for sure the flax did not fall out of the basket, because if it really had fallen out of the basket, then it would have remained in it. And so too, so the way Rashi explains it is that the barrel, the flax, and the basket, that's clearly something that we can say that if it didn't fall out of the basket. Unlike the fruits, there you're obligated, because unlike the fruits, because we're going to say there you're obligated to return it, because we're going to say that it for sure would have fallen out, that they all would have fallen out. And so basically that, but people, there's opposite ways to do this, that which the Rashi and Tosfos have an argument here, which is the way you do it. So the way Tosfos says is that Rashi is referring, that our Mishnah, which says that, is referring to the Kuba and the Kinda, and so that's the way Rashi, that's the way Tosfos understands it. But Tosfos gives the exact opposite explanation. That, so again, what Rashi says is that if the flax was in the barrel, that the way it would fall out, that is that part of it would fall out and there would be part remaining. And so for the fact that in front of us there's nothing, that proves that the flax was not in the barrel. Whereas the fruit, when the fruit fall out, they all fall out. So that's one explanation. Rav Papa says Hava Habatzinu Perigul Kasha. So Rav Papa says both are referring to fruit in the basket, and it's not difficult. And the distinction is where some remains. If some remains, it's clearly that it came from the basket. If nothing remains, then we're going to say that under those circumstances, it wasn't part of the basket, and you can keep it. Another explanation is there's another answer is that depends which way the basket or the fruit are facing. If they're facing so that it looks like it fell out from there, then you can't keep it. But if it doesn't look like it fell out from there, then you can keep it. Another explanation is that how do I say ugnin litzina? How do I say ugnin litzina? It depends whether there's a rim for the basket or the fruit. If there's a rim, then it wouldn't fall out. But if there's no rim, it would all fall out. So those are just like technical answers. But we say if there's tziburi peros or tziburi mos, there's piles of money or piles of fruit or piles of fruits or piles of money, you have to announce it. Shmas mina, we learn from here that the piles of fruits so since it's just a pile. Oh, here's a Gemara, Jeff. Sorry, we don't have the coffee ready for you. Coffee we did not make yet. Okay, take a minute. You could have instant. No, you could have instant. So Shmas, so we're in the middle of 25a. So it says Shmas, we learn from here that it says the piles of fruits and the piles of money, you have to announce it. So we learn from here, says the Gemara, Shmas b'nei minyan ave siman. We learn from here that the number of coins would be a sign. How do we learn from there? Because you have to announce it. So why are you announcing it here? It must be that it's the number, because if you wouldn't have the number, then why would you announce it? So the Gemara says, no, Tani Sibor Peros, it's one pile, meaning to say that there's no number there, and so what's the sign? The place, because since it was placed there, it's clear that he intended to place it there, and so that's the sign. Gemara says, okay, well, at least learn from here, Shemaz Minam Makom Avisiman. So therefore, learn from here that the place where it is resting is the sign. Gemara says, no, Tani Tzibure Peros. Learn that from here. Read it the other way. Read it the piles of coins, in which case the number would be the sign. So basically, it's not indicative of the Mishnah, because you could read the Mishnah either way. If you find shalosh matbeos zal gabi, if you find 3 coins or on top of another, you have to announce it. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Magdala. Rabbi Yitzchak Magdala taught that when do you have to announce the coins? When they are made like a tower. Like the tower is, the widest on the bottom and moving up. And commentaries point out that his name is Rabbi Yitzchak Magdala, and his most famous teaching is about a migdal, which is a tower. So possibly he got his name from his famous teaching. So indeed, we have a similar price. If you find money scattered, you could keep it. But let's say you made the money like a tower, you have to announce it. What are the ones that are made like a tower? If you have three coins on top of another. So the Gemara says, well, Hagufa Kasha, this itself is a contradiction that Amras Matzamach Fuzaras or El Shalo. If you find the money scattered, you could keep it. Mishalchefe Shalchufe. So doesn't this imply that if they're partially on each other and part on the ground, you could keep it? You have to announce it, but Ema Seifa. But the next clause says, Asuyin can if it's made like a tower, then you have to announce it. But if they're just partially on each other but not built up like a tower, Arel Shalo. So which is it? So the Gemara says, Tana, no, the way you have to read it is anything that is not built up like a tower is called scattered. When do we say that if it's built up like a tower, you have to announce it? When it's three kings, meaning to say the coins are three different sizes. Abe Lincoln, George Washington, I don't know who's on the nickel, Franklin, I don't know. What? Jefferson, who's on the quarter?
What?
Who's on the dime? What? Which Roosevelt? We don't know. We don't even look at dimes anymore. You don't have to announce it. We don't understand what this statement of Reb Chanina means. If it was made like a tower, even if it's one king, then you have to announce it. If it's not made like a tower, even if it's three kings, you don't have to announce it. So if Reb Chanina said something, this is what he said. When do we say that you have to announce it? If it's one king, but it's built like three kings, meaning to say, what does it mean that it's built like a tower? So only if it's built like that, where it's the widest on the bottom and then moving up. But if it's one king that they're all the same, they're just stacked, then even though they're placed on each other, you get to keep it. Why? Is Rami. We just say, but how they adadi naful. Maybe it just happened and it fell out, and that's how they got stacked. So it's not a proof. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan even if it's one king, meaning to say they're all the same size, you have to announce it. So my machris. So what do you announce? The minyan. So meaning to say that you announce the number. Well, if that's the case, my area tosa, why does the Mishnah say 3 coins you announce? I feel a trenami. So even 2. So I'm Ravina Tava Machris. So that's what Ravina says. You say I found coins. So therefore, since you're announcing I found coins, 2 is not a number because that's the minimum. So if there's at least 3, then you could say it. By Rabbi Yirmiyah, Kashir Mahu. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, let's say it's placed in a circle like a bracelet. Shir is a bracelet, Rashi tells us. Or Kashur Mahu, it's placed in a line like a beam. Kechatsuva Mahu, Rashi says it's like a tripod. He has another drawing there. The drawing looks a little bit like a I don't know, like a triangle, 3 dots. Kisuamahu, like a ladder, like stacked like a ladder. Or what's the law? Gemara says, Pashat miyachada. Let's answer at least one of Rav Yirmiyah's questions. This is the second time, by the way, in our tractate already, that we've had Rav Yirmiyah asking a lot of questions like this. The Amar of Nachman Amar Rav Vua Kol She'ilu Malchus La Kisein B'neiim V'Notalas V'Basachas La'Ivachas. Anytime where you could stick a piece of wood through them and lift them up all at once, you have to announce it. So therefore, if it would be like a ladder, you could lift it all up at once. So at least under those circumstances, you would have to announce it. By Rav Ashi, so now Rav Ashi asked the question. We're on top of Hafayam base. Says Rav Ashi, Ka'avne Beis Kolius. Beis Kolius was an idolatry called Markois. And so, Mao, if the coins were arranged like the stones of Markois, what would be the law? Tashma, Titania, Matzah, Mos, Fuzaros, Harel, Shalok, Avne Beis Kolius, Chayav Achris. You need to announce it if it's like the stones of Beis Kolius. One on each side, and then the third one's on top of them. Let's say you find a coin in the market, and you come into your friend, and your friend says it's mine. It's a new coin. Nironisi. It's Nero. Shalmel Plonihi. It's from this king. It's not enough. Even if you write your name on the coin, it's not enough. You can't make a sign on the coin. Because maybe you bought something with it. You can't write your name on the coin. The coin doesn't belong to you. Maybe you used it and it belongs to somebody else. So it's also a deeper message. The coins don't belong to you. You can't even write your name on it. It's not your coin. So now we up to the next Mishnah.
You have to turn the stones.
Because it was put down. You're not returning the stones of Kulas. You're returning the coins if they look like the stones of Kulas. Because that's a sign that it's put down by a person. That's a sign. I stacked them like the stones of Kulas.
Would you assume that it's not a Jew?
No, the Jew.
Who's doing it that way?
Yeah, it's just a description. Okay, so now matzah achar agafa, achar ageder. So let's say you find it. Basically, the gafa is where you close up the fence, close up a wall with wood or with reeds, and geder, a fence, is where you close it up with stones. So let's say you find it after the hagafa or the geder. These are closures in the fence. What do you find there? You find gozlos mekusharim, find tied up pigeons. Bishvilin shebesados, or you find them in the paths in the fields. Areza lo yigabaim, don't touch them. Rashi says because it's not a lost object that you're commanded that you have to return. Because the reason why it's not a lost object is the person tied them up, so he's keeping them there. Matzah kliba ashpa. Let's say you find the utensil in the trash. In makusa, well, yigabo. If it's covered up, don't touch it. In megua, if it's uncovered, no talmachos. You have to take it and announce it. My timer, what's the reasoning that you're not supposed to touch it? Da'amrinan hani inish atzniu. Because you say this man hid it there. V'ishakalu. And if you're going to take it, then the owner is no longer going to have a siman. Why is he not going to have a siman? Because his siman was that he left it there. So therefore, you have to leave it there until the person will come and take it. What do you mean he's not going to have a siman? Let the fact that he tied it up be the siman. No, he tied them up the way everybody does, by their wings. Everybody does that. Gemara says, "Well, what about the place where he put it? Should be the sign." No, the pigeons can hop. Well, if they can hop, then maybe they came from someplace else, and you could keep it. You can say they came from someplace else, but you could also say that somebody hid them. And so therefore we have a ambiguous situation. We're not sure if he put it there. If it's a doubt whether or not he put there, ideally you shouldn't touch it. But if you took it, don't return it. Why? What does it mean, what does it mean if he takes it, don't return it? And this is a big discussion. You don't return it to anybody, Rashi says, because who are you going to return it? So what do you have to do with it? You have to leave it until Eliyahu comes. That's how Rashi explains it. But the Tosfos says, well, this is difficult. Of course you don't return it. That's obvious. And so therefore, what do you mean you don't return it? So therefore, Tosfos says, well, Yachzir, don't return it back to the place that you took it. And so therefore, so it means that you have to watch it and guard it. No, that's a big problem. So the Gemara says, if you found a utensil in the trash, if it's covered, don't touch it. If it's uncovered, proclaim, announce it. If you found the utensil in the hidden in the trash, no tulmachris. So here we're saying, if it's the Mishnah says, if it's covered, don't touch it. If it's uncovered, announce it. But we have a contradictory source that if you find, says the Brisa, that if you find the utensil hidden in the trash, you're supposed to announce it, because that's the way of a trash. Because people are going to throw it out, and so therefore, since they're about to throw it out, and we have to be concerned that maybe somebody else will find it, and so therefore, even though we put it there, you have to announce it. So Amar Zvidu Kasha, Habakubi v'chasi, Habasakine v'hamnik. That our Mishnah, when it says that you have to, that if it's covered up, you shouldn't touch it. If it's uncovered, you should announce it. That's talking about jars and cups. Whereas the Brisa that says that you should announce it is with knives and a hamnik. Hamnik is something that the Sofrim use. So the scribes use. The Kubi de Kasi, which is a large utensil, clearly placed them there. Well, don't touch it. Bisakini v'hamnik, but these small utensils, no telemachris, but the small utensils, he should take it and announce it, because it's clearly maybe they fell there, and so therefore announce it. Rav Papa Amar Havabaku Bivitasi. Both places are talking about the large utensils and the cups. Okasha Kamba Ashba Suyilapanos, Kamba Ashba Shena Suyilapanos. Meaning to say, if it's going to be moved, they're going to take out trash day, then announce it before it gets destroyed. But the one that's not going to be taken out, he hid it there, leave it there. Well, if it's trash day, DC in our area, it's Monday. If it's a Monday, and he put it there, Aveda Midasi, then he's intentionally destroying it. And he put it in the trash, not usually taken out, but all of a sudden now they decided they're going to clear that out. He wasn't expecting that. Bishlam Papa. This makes sense according to Papa. Hainu Dikatani. This is why it says in the Brisa that the reason why you need to announce it is Shekin Derech Ashbal Panos. And so therefore makes sense that Rav Papa is saying you should announce it there. Or Rav Zvid, who says that our Brisa is talking about knives and a hemnik. My Shekin Derech Ashbal Panos. How does he explain that phrase of the Brisa? He says no, Shekin Derech Ashbal Panos Lakeim Katanim, because that's what it's the way of the trash that they move the small utensils. Now we step to the next Mishnah, which relates to actually the holiday of Purim. Matzah begal uvekosel yashan. Let's say you find the object in a pile of stones or in an old wall. They used to place things in the walls. So if you find the pile of stones in an old wall, if you find the object in an old wall, you could keep it. Matzah bekotel chadash. If you found it in a new wall, if it's on the part of the wall, the thick wall that's facing towards the street, shelo, then he gets to keep it. If it's on the inner part of the wall, that belongs to the owner. If it was an Airbnb, he rents it out. Even if it's inside the house, the part of the house, he gets to keep it. Who does he get to keep it? Then the person who finds it gets to keep it, because we assume that the owner gave a pope. So So if it's an old wall, he gets to keep it. Why? Well, because he could say to the owner of the pile of stones or to the owner of the wall, Shel Amorayim Hain. This is left by the Amorayim. This is an old wall. It goes back to the people who first came into the land. So the Gemara asks the question, Atu Amorayim Matzniya, Yisrael Matzniya. You think the Amorayim are the ones who put it in the wall, not Jews? So if it's an old wall, why do we say if he finds there, he gets to keep it? So the Gemara says Deshasech, that it's Deshasech Tvei. There's a lot of rust on it. And so therefore we say he could keep it. But we see from here that they thought that there were walls going back to the Amorites that they were using. This relates to the holiday of Purim, which talks about that if something was walled, walled cities kept Purim on the 15th day. And we say anybody that was walled from the time of Joshua, this is the Amoraim. So we have this connection. It was walled from the time of Joshua. And we now know two halachos about it. One is that they read the Megillah on Purim and on the 15th day of Purim of Adar. And number two, that if it's walled from the time of Joshua, you could keep the object that you found there. All right, we'll stop the daf here. And that'll be today's daf. Yasher koach.